All right, welcome into another episode of the Ryan and Goodman podcast. I'm back, Bob. I'm back for about, 30 hours or so before I head to New Orleans. And I love this time of year, but I won't lie to you. The traveling at this stage hits me a little bit, and it's been a little crazy. I did a couple weeks ago, it started with Big East tournament for a day in Madison Square Garden. Big Ten tournament the next day where I joined my daughter in Indy. Then Vegas, where I literally didn't see the outside of the casino for 4 days pretty much. Then went straight from Vegas to Buffalo to Pittsburgh, back to Buffalo, came home for a couple days, and then have been in Chicago the last 5 days. And the sad part, I haven't seen a ton of great games, but there have been some good games. This tournament, I feel like, hasn't had the buzzer beaters. Thank God we had St. Peter's, because I think without St. Peter's, this might have been a little bit of a blah tournament early on. Am I crazy to say that or no? I mean, I was at my own spot, so it was really hard to kind of take in the big picture. You were taking in the big picture, Bob. What's it been like?
You're right. I was taking in the big picture, which is, and one of my overriding impression is the number of disturbingly awful first halves I've seen in games. Yeah. Low scoring first halves, posing the question, was it defense or was it lack of offense? And the conclusion I finally reached, it was pretty good defense combined with tightness. Too many, I think teams were tight, more than usual for some reason. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, because second halves were usually better to some degree, although Villanova went up 50-44 in that game, which is hard to believe. But no, there haven't been a lot of great games. The best game off the top of my head that I saw, because I didn't watch it, was UCLA and Carolina. That was a pretty well-played game. I could have gone either way.
That Baylor-Carolina game was ridiculous.
Oh, well,
the second half.
Yeah, that's a different, right. Because
that was fun.
Two-half game. And then finally, Carolina pulled themselves together, surprisingly, based on the punch that they took. When you give up a 25-point lead in 10 minutes, that's really astonishing. Yep. And yet they did pull themselves together and have a decent overtime. No, it hasn't been a great tournament, but what they've given us is the blue bloodiest Final Four of our lifetime.
Yes.
And hopefully maybe we'll get our artistic reward thanks to that. Yeah. Although Justin Moore injury puts a cloud over that game and the whole thing, which I hate what I call loose ends. That's a major loose end. I'm sorry it happened.
It is. I'm curious to know, because I was really torn on this, Bob. Who were you? I think I know the answer. I hope the answer was the Peacocks, but who were you rooting for in that St. Peter's Carolina game?
I would have loved. Obviously, I would have loved the Peacocks, but I didn't think never dreamed. I said it was going to end. It had to end. Yep. And it did. And that carriage turned into a pumpkin in about 5 minutes of the game. 9-0. They never recovered from that. And next thing you know, it's 31-13, I think, and off we go. That was it was sad reality check, frankly.
Yeah. No doubt. Again, on one hand, you're like, all right, now you get K against Carolina with everything on the line. We know what happened a couple of weeks ago. I was there at Cameron when Duke was completely embarrassed. Their players were in a state of shock after that game. And honestly, my guess is when they saw the bracket, they wanted to see Carolina again, the Duke players.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it. I would hope they would, frankly.
Right.
And it's, both of them, they pulled themselves together and especially after they lost to Virginia Tech. And I'm like one of the many thinking, well, the pressure's too much for these kids. But now they seem to settle down. And the two guys have really stepped up. Forgive me for using that phrase. The two guys who have really played very well, Boncaro and Roach, particularly. Now, of course, Moore and Griffin are good too, and they're talented. There's no doubt it's a very talented team, but they needed more than just talent, and they seem to be playing up to their appropriate level now.
Yeah, listen, again, we knew they had talent. They have more talent than everybody else. You look at like Villanova, even with Justin Moore. You know, how many lock NBA players do they have on that Villanova team? They might have 0. You know, Duke's got 2 lottery picks in Banchero and Griffin. And Mark Williams is going to play in the league for a long, long time. He's not your traditional big. I mean, he's big, but he's athletic. You know, he can do a lot of things that kind of the old school bigs, Jahlil Okafor, couldn't do, which is play above the rim, block shots, all 3. Like, he could be Clint Capella for sure.
Right, exactly. That's a good one. Yeah, you're right. And that's he's going to be in the league that 12 years. There's no question. No, they have the most raw talent.
Yes.
And so, but I can make a devil's advocate argument for any of the 4. Although Villanova now without Moore is just a shame.
Well, they play 6 guys normally, Bob. They play 6 guys. Now you take away Moore, who's their best pure shooter. Now, again, if you want somebody taking the last shot, you're probably going to call on Colin Gillespie. But Justin Moore is so critical to everything they do. And now he's done for the year. Now they're down to 5 guys. One of those 5 is Eric Dixon, who's 6'8", 250. And as you know, nobody uses their big quite like Bill Self does at Kansas. He doesn't have great bigs, David McCormick and Mitch Lightfoot, but he finds a way to utilize his bigs in the post probably more than any coach other than like Roy when Roy was coaching. That was it. And to me, that's where you worry about Villanova, not only being without Justin Moore. Even if they had Justin Moore, they have 1 big. And I think Bill Self's going to find a way to get that 1 big on the bench with foul trouble. And then it's going to be Brandon Slater at the 5. And then really Villanova's just got to trade 3s for 2s. And that's their only chance to win this game. They got to go, 10 for 20 from 3. And then they got a chance.
Yeah, that's, I'll buy that. Kansas, McCormick to me is they don't utilize him well enough yet all the time. And if they do find a way to do that, it's going to be real trouble for Villanova.
Yep. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, listen, it's crazy. Again, do you consider Villanova blue blood? I tweeted that out and everybody got on me.
How can in context of recent history, no one's had a better recent history in the last 6 years in the tournament than Villanova. They've won the most games. They've got 2 championships. They're now back to a 3rd Final Four. Damn right I do.
Yeah.
And this is their, that's not like they've never been there before. I forgot. I didn't realize in 1939. They went to the 4 when no one was talking about a 4 then, of course. But I well remember 1971 and that tremendous game against Western Kentucky.
Some of us remember. Some of us don't remember 1971, Bob.
I remember it very well.
Some of us were born in 71.
I call that the Howard Porter team. Howard Porter was a huge scandal. Howard Porter, they found out he had signed with an agent. I guess they officially vacated. That's the other thing. People don't realize how many vacated things there are historically. So many of them so retroactive.
Doesn't even matter.
I mean, but like in 61, St. Joe's was vacated, in 71, Villanova was vacated. There's lots of vacate. Anyway, Villanova was there in 71. Villanova, of course, one of my 2 favorite all-time college games that I ever covered or witnessed were Villanova and Georgetown in 85. And of course, the 30th anniversary we just had of Duke and Kentucky in 92. But Villanova with Georgetown, So anyway, that's a basketball tradition school. Basketball matters. The culture. There always was. I mean, Alex Severance in the 50s, I'm telling you. And then Jack Kraft in the next era. And of course, Wally. And now we got Jay. Basketball matters.
No doubt. No doubt. And again, I'm with you. I go with Kansas here largely because Villanova is going to be without their probably second best player.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason. But, now, am I going to root for them? Damn right I am. I'm rooting for them. Now, I was rooting for Gonzaga because I want to be right for once, I mean, and
you wanted, and I don't know about you, but I was always, and I'll continue to be tired of the naysayers that are like, well, he can never win the big one. Like, the fact that he's there every year is winning the big one. If you go to Spokane, Washington, and you and I are going to go next year, we're going to go to Spokane. That is our trip, Bob. That is our trip next year.
Right. As clearly this was, I got you. Okay.
All right.
Clearly, this wasn't their best team. I mean, it wasn't deep enough, number one. And Holmgren, I never trusted.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what to make of him ultimately.
Nobody does.
What do you do with that body? I mean, there's no body type like that at that size that's ever in the recent annals of the NBA. None. Name me. I don't care how. There's skinny guys. Brandon Ingram is a skinny guy. There's a couple skinny guys, but not at 7'1" to that body.
You know who's skinny at 7 feet like that? I'll give you a name. Not the same player, not the same level talent or anything. Brad Sellers.
Oh, really? That you go? That's I mean.
Remember him?
I can't. I mean, I know he was 6'11".
Skinny, could shoot it. Again, not the same, but he liked to stand out there and shoot it. He was pretty, but not as skinny as Chet. Chet's got the kind of inverted chest, almost like somebody compared him. Obviously, this guy's much bigger and stronger, but somebody compared him how he the hunchbacks to Kevin McHale a little bit to how he runs, but Kevin McHale had 50 pounds on.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Kevin was, raw bone, but sturdier than this kid. I mean, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. Well, anyway, so I was rooting. I'm back left rooting for Villanova, for Jay, for the whole thing. And that's fine. I have nothing. I have no antagonism here. I'm not against anybody at all.
Are you going to enjoy this Coach K love fest that is going to go on this week? Or is it going to be too much where you're just going to say, I just want the game to get here already every time I flip on? Now, again, we haven't had, you look around and it's been NFL, a lot of NFL signings. So really, I don't think the Final Four has gotten as much attention, or the NCAA tournament has gotten as much attention nationally as it usually gets because of all these NFL moves, whether it's been Tom Brady or Tyreek Hill or whatever it is. Now, I think it gets center stage largely because of the Blue Bloods, the ratings, and Coach K.
Well, you would think it would. I mean, it is on paper, such a fascinating Final Four in that regard. You realize we've got 61 cumulative Final Four appearances and 16 championships. And I mean, now as the years have gone on, the last 25 years or so, there's 3 predictable ones and one somewhat outlier. And
still is.
Even though Carolina's an 8, they're a different kind of they're not an outlier. I'm sorry. I know
I can't call them Cinderella, Bob. I can't call them Cinderella.
No, they're not. It just took them a while to kick in. They're a blue blood, damn it. They're officially a blue blood.
No, they're definitely a blue blood. But what I will say, and this is really interesting, is I was saying really before Carolina went to Cameron and beat Duke on Coach K Day, I was saying Hubert Davis had completely underachieved with this team. And he had. They were on the bubble at that point. Before that game, they were going to get in. But you were talking, honestly, about maybe an 11 seed. I mean, they probably weren't going to be in the first 4. They're probably an 11 before they beat Duke. And the whole narrative has changed on Hubert Davis within what date? What was that date? That date was the 5th, 23 days ago. 23 days. The complete narrative has changed on Hubert Davis, because ultimately, what would you rather have? I mean, they should build a statue of him right now, because if you told any Carolina fan, hey, you're going to be mediocre in the regular season, but you're going to beat Coach K in his final home game at Cameron, and then you're going to go to the Final Four, they would be like, where do we sign up? We're in.
No, right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. No, that's very interesting. But, I don't envy anybody taking on the guy after the guy jobs. Next, God forbid, John Shire next year. I wouldn't want to be John Shire next year.
Oh,
yeah, imagine. But
no, especially coming off this year now. Like, it'd be one thing if Duke had 2 consecutive down years. You could kind of then say, all right, he's bringing in a great class. Now if K wins another one, and again, it's only been one in the last 10 years. I mean, we got to remember, the last 10 years of the Duke of K are not blow away great. No ACC regular season titles before this year. And one title, one national title. So like by Duke standards, by K, not unbelievable, but in the totality, obviously, of what K's done in his career, 40 plus years, insane.
Consider this, we're talking about coaching longevity. And the other three coaches who aren't Hubert Davis combined have, I believe, 82 seasons plus at the helm to Hubert's creeping up to one.
And it's not like, and Hubert's probably, I don't even know the age off the top of my head, but he's probably about maybe a little bit younger than Bill Self, right?
Yeah. He's
Jay Wright
was in the mid 90s.
Yeah. I mean, Jay Wright and Bill Self are probably similar age.
So Jay
in the mid 50s, and Hubert, I don't know, he's got to be around 50, probably similar.
Yeah. So anyway, that in that aspect's really going to be good. But what else on the tournament? I don't know. Okay, so here's another one. We haven't talked about this. You and Gary might have a couple weeks ago when it happened. But how do you evaluate John Calipari now at Kentucky? Because they had a great regular season, coming off a horrible regular season last year, due to COVID to some degree. They were great in the regular season. Everybody was happy. This is a team that's got a chance. I picked them to go to the Final Four, and they lose in the first round to at least a team that wasn't a one and done. At least St. Peter's made them look a little bit better by going all the way to the Elite Eight. But again, if you're a Kentucky fan, and they're split right now, there's a lot of Kentucky fans hit me up saying, you know what, I want them out. And I'm saying, be careful what you wish for. Oh, yeah.
Be careful what you wish for, because it could get a lot worse. In the Billy Clyde Gillespie couple of years, they ran Tubby out, and Tubby's numbers were almost identical in the last 7 years as John Calipari's his last 7 years. So they ran him out because he couldn't get good enough talent. They would run out Calipari if they were going to run him out for having too much talent and not doing enough with it, not winning enough national time. I mean, this year is just, you got to get past the first round, right? So how do you feel about John Calipari at Kentucky going forward?
I think I want to give him a little more. I'll give him another chance. I think he's a sound, over and above the recruiting thing, I think he's a sound coach. I really always believe that. But you're right. I understand it's a different evaluation process down there. You're held to a different standard. That the whole Big Blue Nation thing takes itself very seriously. I think it's safe to say. Yep. And it's a different kind of job. Even I don't know if there's one. You're closer to the collegiate scene than I right now. Duke's another thing. I mean, the nature of what the program is all about, or what K has made it into. But Kentucky is just different. And even with Kansas having, by the way, just passed them all time now by 2 games, right? They now have 2 more games all time than Kentucky. But it's just the nature of their fandom, the fanaticism of the whole way it has been the single most unifying force in this Commonwealth of Kentucky. Really, it's to the extent that the Jayhawks, as important as they are, aren't quite that in the state of Kansas. I don't know. Alabama football and Kentucky basketball to me are
very similar.
They're the Siamese twins of college sports.
Yep. No, I would agree. I mean, listen, to me, unrealistic expectations to some degree, but again, when you're bringing in all that talent, and this year you're bringing good talent and experience and good transfers, then there's no excuse to me to lose in the first round, right? Like not coming off last year. So I'm with them. Kentucky should be doing more, but I'm also with John Calipari that like, hey, just be careful what you wish for, because if you get rid of him,
you tell me I'd like to know who they think is going to, be the person for that job. You got to have the right person. That job is such a
like an Eric Musselman, maybe. Got number one is find a good coach. Like I've always said, like John Calipari's a good coach, X's and O's, not a great one. I mean, he's a great, talent accumulator. He's a great motivator. Those are his best assets. Eric Musselman is a hell of a basketball coach, in my opinion. He loves the attention. He would fit Kentucky from that degree. You know, like
we're talking, you got to have the right personality.
Yes. You got to want it. You got to be a 24/7 guy. And I'm not sure Cal is that anymore. I think he was that when he got there.
Oh, I don't doubt he was.
Yeah, I think everybody, you get worn down. It's like dog years. He said that in Lexington. So I think, listen, if the New York Knicks fire Tibbs and they had more talent on the Knicks, his boys, Leon Rose and Worldwide West, are there running things. I could see Cal saying, the hell with it, I'm going to the Knicks. I just don't think they have enough talent in the building at Madison Square Garden for John Calipari to go over there and say, like, I'm going to get my brains beat in every day. Like, he's not going to go to a bad NBA job. And I've said this over and over. There's only a couple NBA GMs that are going to take John Calipari and his ego. And the other part is everybody assumes if he takes an NBA job, he's going to get all these Kentucky guys. Listen, we saw this with Antoine Walker, Bob. It works in college, but in the NBA, when you're making more money than the coach and it's Rick Pitino or John Calipari and they're yelling at you all the time, doesn't really work, does it?
No, it's a whole different atmosphere of ball game. Absolutely. But you're right. I think it takes a certain definite, although it's funny, as we're talking about the personality thing, and I'm thinking about, we just had, the late Joe B. Hall.
Yeah.
He was a low key personality.
Very.
There's no, he wasn't.
It can work. But I think today it's different, Bob. I think today it's different.
Yeah, that was right.
You got to be out there more, the world of social media and getting out in the community a little bit more. Now, some guys can get away with it, but I feel like at Kentucky, they want somebody that's going to be out there, that's going to be kind of beating their chest. So I don't know how. All right, so give me your picks. Duke, Carolina, you going with Duke in a revenge?
Yes. I like their talent. I like the way they're playing. I think they've got it figured out the way they need to do what they need to do. Roach has certainly has asserted himself, made big plays. But let's talk about Paolo for a minute.
Yep.
He's enormously talented. We know that. Now, I don't want to say he's I'm trying to find the right word. He just didn't assert himself consistently as much as I thought he should be until now. He seems to have figured it out when he can as I said about LeBron, just to make it a parallel and recognizing difference in the games, pro and con. I said LeBron learned how to started winning when he learned how to accept the idea of being the best player on the floor and acting accordingly.
Yep.
Jason Tatum's figuring this out right now, even as we speak. Same idea. When you have that kind of multi-skill at that size, Paolo Banchero is incredibly talented, and I think he's figured out when he's got to take over or when he's got to make a move to get to the basket. And yet he's shooting well on the three. He's got it. He's got that talent. It's not easy. You can have not too much, but he's got decisions to make for himself, and he's learning. And I think he's making good ones now and more consistently. I think he's going to be the best player on the floor in any game he plays. He should for almost any time.
Talent.
Right?
Yeah, talent, no doubt. I mean, again, I've always kind of had the comparison to Chris Webber, big, strong, athletic, multi-dimensional. What we haven't seen is his passing quite as much. I don't think he's quite the passer Chris Webber was, but everything else is there. He's even bigger and stronger.
So I wouldn't be at all surprised if Duke is to win, that it's not because, but it's going to be in large measure because Paolo Banchero will be the best player in the tournament.
Yeah, I would agree. And I'm with you. I'm picking Duke. I'm picking Kansas. And honestly, I picked Kansas. And the more I think about this, I don't like the matchup for Kansas at all if they play Duke. They've got small guards that they need to play together at times. DeJuan Harris and Remy Martin, I think they'll get eaten up, to be honest, by guys like Keels, Wendell Moore. Duke's just so big at every position. So big, so strong, so athletic. So I've got Duke. I flipped it. I picked Kansas to win it all. And the more I think about it, the more I flipped it, and I'm going with Duke to win it all. All right, well, listen, make sure you join us next week. We will have a wrap-up. Both Bob and I will be down in New Orleans all week. We'll talk about his favorite lunch spot, of course. which I know he will frequent multiple times when he's down there. And we'll wrap up the Final Four next week. So thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week.